This is the Future of the Future show. I am your host, Mateo Berbejicio. Today's guest is Mo Balakrishnan, a software engineer leader working at the intersection of building products, leading teams, and navigating the fast-moving world of AI. In this episode, we will talk about how Mo is using AI in his own work, how it's changing the way teams build software, and what engineers should be excited or cautious about as AI becomes a part of everyday development. We will explore how quickly ideas can now turn into prototypes, whether the AI hype is real or overblown, and how the role of the software engineer is evolving. And of course, we will get to know Mo beyond work, what he is experimenting with, and what he enjoys outside of technology. Mo, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mateo. Thank you.
Mo, for those who may not know you yet, what do you do today for a living, and what has your career journey looked like up to this point?
Okay, yeah. So today I am the Chief Technology Officer at a insurance company based out of Sacramento. We're a nonprofit organization that serves the school districts. And yeah, so, our mission is to keep dollars in classrooms and really further California students' education through risk mitigation practices and such. So, we have a lot of technological requirements, and I'm here to really kind of lead the way and bring us from where we started to where we're going, which is a new AI-enabled future. And yeah, that's really been my role here since I got here. Previously, I was in cybersecurity for much of my career. I was the CISO at a university, so head of the security department. And prior to that, I worked for a firewall vendor for quite some time, over a decade, helping build security appliances. And prior to that, I was in the hard sciences. So that was my first foray out of college, was in the hard sciences. And so yeah, I moved out of that into technology. So it's been a great journey for me. And I learned a lot along the way, and I'm still learning every single day. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's a long career in technology, a lot of different cycles you've been through, which is exciting because that brings you a lot of perspective that you're going to share today with the audience. Um, Tell me, how are you personally using AI in your day-to-day work, whether for coding, decision making, or productivity?
Yeah. All of those things, right? All of those things are AI enabled these days, and I feel like I am not using my potential to the fullest unless I'm using AI to kind of help augment some of, and by help I mean I've got ideas and I've got my way of doing things, and what I try to find is like, where can AI really take me to the next level, get this task done faster, more accurately, and really help me where I lack some skill set. For example, writing paragraphs of information that I've got a general idea of what I want to say and what I want to do and what I want to execute. But sometimes it's difficult to just sit down and write something. So AI has helped me a lot in just drafting letters and things of that nature. So I can draft something very quickly and then go back and kind of edit it and really make it my own. So that's been very helpful. But yeah, to your point, automation, coding, right? And so whenever I try to, when in the past, if I've had an idea for something, it's kind of sat on a shelf waiting for me to kind of look at it. And now I'm able to really take those quick ideas. Anything that we see, so that comes out in our field, it's like, oh, we need to automate this task or something like that. Now the answer is AI will give you that information, or we see a security vulnerability in our environment. And the first thing I do is I ask AI, what do you think? Here are the parameters, here are the problems, and let's just always use it as a first pass to kind of jog our memories or give us new ideas. So it's been an invaluable resource for us. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And outside of your professional life, are there any personal projects where you've been experimented with AI?
Yeah, there have been a few. I think they've always been like hobby projects for me. So I've always had like a side hobby project. Whatever I'm, doing at work is work, and then I still like to kind of use my technical skills to build things on the side. And previously, it was slow going. Okay, it was like I have an idea, I have to develop very slowly, and see where I can take it, see what's possible, what is within the limits of my capabilities, my time, frame, and my time capabilities as well. But today, I can really accelerate that and really take an idea and use the latest tools to go from an idea to a real proof of concept, which is incredible. Today, the world has changed for that idea person, because now I can really vision something in my head and then work with artificial intelligence to make that a reality. Now, is that something I can sell or turn into a business, or not quite yet, but it allows me to go from just an idea into my head to something that really works, something that's real, a proof of concept that is more than just some PowerPoint slides or some diagrams, something that actually works, that gives you a result. So I think that's been the real power of the most recent developments in AI, is the speed from going from idea to a proof of concept.
Indeed, indeed, and it's enabling people from all fields, right? I lead a software development company, but I'm an attorney by background. Prior to AI, it was impossible for me to, create an application from scratch. I can do it today. I will create a lot of noise in the process, and we can talk a little
Right.
bit about that
Right.
later in the podcast. But I can do it, and I can see the prototype. So, like you said, from idea to prototype and working prototype, it's amazing what we can do today. Um, Now let's talk about your team. What are some of the ways you are encouraging or enabling your team to adopt AI responsibly and effectively?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is giving everybody the tools necessary, right? So I think the first step is enabling tools, finding what the right tools are for your organization, because not every AI tool is going to be productive in your organization. It's going to cause, some will cause confusion, some will cause consternation, some will really annoy your users. I think about the note-taking AI and stuff that we see that pops up in everybody's Zoom channels and things like that. But those things can be distractions. They may not add the value that your organization is really seeking. So it's really kind of understanding what your business use case is, what your there's always a need for more automation, more intelligent automation, right? So that's where I think AI comes into play, is where there are still tasks where it's not like a very rigid automation flow, where X leads to Y leads to Z. There's often a point where someone needs to analyze some data within an automation flow. And so what I have thought about for our team and our organization is look for those business use cases where there is automation that's required, but today we still require a human to look at it, have eyes on it, make a decision, and then move it forward. Now we're getting to a point where AI can read some information, extract necessary information, input it into another source, and then continue an automation flow. So that's where I think AI is really helping, make some strides. Um, there's also just, like you alluded to, coding, scripting, things of that nature that have always been the purview of the IT department, kind of getting things to deliver faster. So today, I don't have to wait 2 weeks for a script to be completed by my team. We can do it in like 30 minutes, really, because we know what we need, and AI can help us get there very quickly. So that's kind of where we're at today. And obviously the future is is very bright. There's a lot of agentic capabilities. Now, those are the positive points. We can talk about the negative points as we get into it, but that's what we feel are the positive things about AI. Yeah.
That is a great segue. So, from your perspective, what are some of the risks or pitfalls engineers should be aware of?
Sure. So anybody who's using AI, engineer or not, the problem is AI is not a perfect, infallible tool, right? It makes mistakes. It's a predictive language model, the ones that we use generally these days, predictive language models. So they make mistakes. They are probabilistic machines. And so that means they're not deterministic, meaning X is not always going to result in Y. X may result in something else. And so it requires human oversight. And the problem is, once we get into these very complex automation workflows or very complex tasks where it kind of, the risk is it outstrips our capability to keep eyes on the task. And so I've seen that with coding projects where as the code base and the application starts to grow, and that becomes an intractable problem because someone keeping track of all of this. So what it means is we have to go back to basics. Good design has always been, necessary. Whether you were coding it manually or not, you still need to start with good design, good architecture. And that's where I think the shift needs to go from spending time in the details of the algorithms and how efficient you can make an algorithm or a certain function, or how well or clean your code can be, to the overall big picture architecture, and really spending more time and focusing your efforts on architectural decisions, which then, if executed well, can allow you to keep control of the intractable problem, which is the sprawl of your code base and things of that nature. So I definitely am seeing those limitations when I experiment with this stuff myself, and seeing where things can go wrong and how to kind of use the AI to mitigate some of those things that can go wrong by, asking it to do error checking, by modularizing your environment and that you're building, and so that problems are contained within one set of application scripts or code in your code base. So I think that's really some of the risks that I see. Of course, the data security risks are huge, right? Because whatever the AI can read can then be outputted to people who shouldn't see it, or that's a massive risk. So data security is definitely a paramount risk. But I think there's also the loss of human agency, because what I have noticed is when I'm using AI, the most latest iteration of AI, when I use it, I am giving up a lot of my creative freedom and my uh, ability to make very detailed decisions about what the output is going to be. I'm giving it's like you're talking to an employee, right? You're giving them very broad requirements and parameters, and then they go off and they build something, which is great because it really accelerates the process. But with anything that you abdicate some of your agency to, you lose your the ability to really have it exactly the way you have visioned it in your head. And so that's what I see when I use AI, is that I am losing some of my agency, and we really must be cognizant of that. That everything that is developed by an artificial intelligence platform needs to be checked and reviewed very carefully. And I think we have to shift from development to code-based review, and really start to build tools which focus on that. That's my thought about the risks there. Yeah.
I love it. And that brings us to the role of the software engineer, right? And how the role of the software engineer is changing. You talked about going back to basics. You talked about good design. You talked about good architecture. You talked about code review, right? Um, Tell me a little bit more about that. How do you think the role of a software engineer is changing? But the other thing I want to know from you is, do you think software engineers today are well positioned for that change, or is there a lot of work needed for a lot of software engineers to get back into that game, right? Architecture, and I will tell you, my view is with a lot of engineers, I think, got used to, okay, this is my feature, this is the code, this is all I care about, and I don't care about anything else, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
I don't know if you see some of that. I just wanted to put out
Well, yeah.
my some of what I see, and I think it's a huge shift that is happening. What is your opinion on all of this?
Is largely what you have described, right? Is that engineers are very pigeonholed into their, their aspect of the massive code base that they're maintaining, and that's by design. Good code should be modularized, right? Where you are responsible for something that takes certain set of inputs and provides a certain set of outputs, and then your world lives within that module that you're maintaining. I think the problem with software engineering is not necessarily software engineering as a profession, because very seasoned software engineers are more like architects, more like builders, more very high level thinking, planning. They're more like product managers, right? They understand the product, they understand some of the business use case, and they are architecting things from a very high level. Where I find danger is with the new entrants into this field, because the new entrants, the way you become an architect or become a product manager of a large product, is you came through the ranks. You started building small pieces of a piece of software, and a lot of it is in the minutia and things like that, and you got really good at that, and then you moved on progressively, and you started to see the bigger picture of what you were doing. And that is great. That's how humans develop their careers or develop their skills in any field. That I see that as being a danger, that we are closing the door on new entrants, because the AI can do that part of the task, right? Where there's no longer really going to be a need for someone to maintain small modules in a large software base, because those things will be handled by AI very well. There will still be a need, at least for the foreseeable future, for people who are very well, versed in architecture and how software should be developed from a large scale. Um, but I think that is itself is a big question, right? Because the AI is developing so quickly. We're getting to a point where a end user should be able to interact with an AI and say, hey, I want so and so application. Develop a application just for me, and the AI will be able to do that for that user in a very, very reasonably secure way at some point in the future. And so the role of the software engineer may shift even more. I don't know. I really can't see that far into the future. But what I will say is, it's better to understand your business rather than understand everything about algorithms and the the nitty-gritty of coding, because I think the value of that is starting to diminish, while understanding your customers, understanding uh, user interfaces, how your customer interfaces with your product, and understanding their needs is still very much paramount in the industry.
Very true. Someone the other day was mentioning that he believed that because of everything that you're describing, we are going to go back to sort of this apprenticeship model, right? But there's going to be a bottleneck, right? There's only so mentors available, and they only have so much time to train uh, the newcomers, right? And so in that apprenticeship model, it's not that we are not going to be leveraging very experienced, very good architects, right? It's just that the numbers will shift, and it's not going to be as massive as it was before. Do you see some of that? Do you see that maybe for even for newcomers, it's going to be less about all of the experience, but also the exposure to what we could call the masters?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I think that's a very likely possibility for the future, is that we have more guilds rather than large professions like software engineering, where like companies like Google employ thousands of software engineers. Um, I think they employ the most software engineers in the world or something like that. So, but why? Out of necessity, right? They do it out of necessity because they churn out so much code. They need that many software engineers that can do that. Now, in a world where AI is churning out the code, you don't need as many software engineers. But the masters, like you said, the ones that are architects and things like that, they're always going to be needed, because the non-technically initiated are still always going to turn to a human subject matter expert to say, hey, can you use this new tool to develop something for my business or something? I think we're still going to have one degree of separation between the business user and the final product, which is a technical product, where there'll be somebody like a subject matter expert or an architect, or like a master painter, if you think about the Renaissance, right? That they commission a work, and they will have a small workshop, and they will produce a product and then provide it to a business. And I see that being at least an interim step before the AI maybe gets even more powerful, and then or more intelligent, and then human masters are no longer, required. I mean, that's a possibility, right? With the progression of our technology as well. But I think what you're alluding to is a very real possibility. So what does that mean? It just means that the workforce in the tech sector is going to shrink, and creativity, as always, is going to be the value of creativity as a commodity is going to go up, as it has always been. It has always been at a premium, but I think more so today and in the future than it was in the past, where if you have technical mechanical skills, there was a place for you in many of these top, software firms, because you can churn out code or something like that very quickly and efficiently. But uh, now I think the premium will be on creativity, and how well can you present your final product? How well does that user interface work?
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think there's a little bit of a bubble right now, or do you think all of the momentum is justified in terms of AI?
I think both things can be true at the same time. I think there could be a bubble. I think there's definitely more AI companies than there should be, but that's always the case with the new technology. People just rush to a new paradigm, people rush to it, and there's a lot of investment. Um, I don't know what's going on with all this circular investment that we see in the economy. Uh, but do I think AI itself as a technology is evolving? No, AI is a paradigm shift. It is a tool which is here to stay. And the reason is because real people can get real things done with this new technology that they could not do previously. It's a liberating piece of technology, just like the car was when it was invented and mass produced. It allowed people to work and live many, many miles away from, where they lived and where they worked. And that was a liberating technology. Similarly, AI is liberating technology. It allows people who are not subject matter experts in a certain field or area to bridge the gap between their ideas and their desires to actually having something that works. And I can give you an example. Like for myself, I'm an avid audiophile, and I love listening to music. And I'm very particular about it, almost too scientific about my music. I look at the sample rates, and I look at analog versus digital and all this stuff, and I look at the quality of the music files that I listen to, and so to a point where I was like, you know what, this is not good enough. I'm listening to this music which it doesn't excite me anymore. I like the artist, but the recording that I have is just limited. And so, I had this idea, well, I could use AI to upscale this music. And I know that that was possible. I have enough of a scientific background to know what's possible, but I don't have a PhD in digital signal processing, or I don't have, expertise in machine learning. I can do some basic machine learning and AI, but I'm not, a PhD researcher in machine learning and artificial intelligence. But with AI, I was able to take an idea that I had and then use the latest tools to really to do those things and execute those things. And now I have a side project where I can upscale music and it actually works. And so that is, I think, the aha moment for me when I saw that happen, when I went from something that was sitting on my shelf as an idea to something that is now a reality, a proof of concept. I said, no, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. This is a new paradigm. And so it's just how do you use it, right? And that's limited by our creativity.
Which is where the premium is.
Right, exactly. Correct.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Um, Mo, one last question to you. When you are not working or exploring AI, what do you do? What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
I alluded to music. I love music. I wouldn't say I'm a virtuoso. I play a little bit of music, but I love to listen to music. I love to do things with the music that I have, mix it, remaster it. Yeah, I love working with technical things. So whatever technical idea I can think of, I'll do that. Outdoor activities as well. I love a lot of I have different pursuits. Astronomy is probably one of my major pursuits. So I do a lot of things that keep me busy. I usually gravitate towards activities which allow me to use my brain as well as my physical capabilities, so that I can do something outdoorsy, which also requires some technical skill, which also requires some skill from a different part of my brain. So it keeps me active. That's what I like to do. Yeah.
I love it. And you live in a great place to do all of that, right? I
I
mean, clear
do. I
skies,
do.
clear
Yeah.
California skies and astronomy and camping and it's all working out for you.
That's right. Northern California, you can't beat it. It's great weather and clear skies a lot of the time. Not right now, but yeah, it has generally been pretty clear skies. So yeah, can't
Nice.
can't beat it. I'm not complaining. Yeah.
Mo, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. And I hope we can stay in touch and do this sometime again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, Mateo. Thank you for having me, and I enjoyed everything and having that discussion with you. Thank you.